have a very special treat for you. I have my friend Claudette Williams. She's here with me today, hanging out with me, and man, she's a powerhouse. I've worked with this woman, I've known this woman for a few years, and she's got a ton of great stuff she's going to share with you today. She is the Mount Pocono Borough President, the chair of the Monroe County Democrats. She sits on the board of the Regional Police and is a retired sergeant major in the Army. Boy, what an amazing resume. And her most important role, that's right, her most important role is a mother of 3. That's right, she has 3 children, and now she's running for state representative in the 176th district in the state of Pennsylvania. This show is brought to you by Elite Sales Consulting Group, taking businesses from where they are to where they want to be, and Expert Settlement Solutions, the world leaders in paid life insurance claims. You know, this leads me to a story. You guys know I always start with a story by now, don't you? That's right. This leads me to a story that occurred a long time ago. And this story, this particular situation happened somewhere in the Middle East. That's right, somewhere in the Middle East. And this story is about a king. And one day this king, he went by the name of King David. Maybe you've heard of him, Claudette. Maybe not.
I have.
King David. One day this king rises up from his bed, his double king-size bed, and he looks out his window and he sees this beautiful, stunning woman. And she's taking a shower. He looks out his window and he sees this beautiful, stunning woman taking a shower or taking a bath, whatever they did in those days. And he sends his men to go and find out who this woman is. And when they go and find out, they come back and they tell him, Sir King David, this woman, her name is Bathsheba, and she's married to one of your soldiers. But King David was so infatuated with this beautiful woman that he had his men bring her to his castle. And he brings her to his castle and he sleeps with this woman. And what he does now is he sends her husband, all right, Uriah, to the front lines of the war. And Uriah gets killed. Maybe some of you have heard this story, maybe some of you have not. And Uriah gets killed in the front of the war, because this was a bloody war. And he marries this woman. He takes this woman, and out of this situation, the king is born. Actually, out of this situation, King Solomon is born, the wisest man that ever walked the earth. However, the story doesn't end there. This time, at this point, one day, the prophet comes. And this is the part of the story that most of us haven't heard, right? A prophet comes, and he goes up to King David. He says, I need to see King David. King David says, come on in. And in this day and age, a prophet's job was to identify sin and to counsel the king. And he comes in and he starts sharing a story. He goes, King David, King David, King David, there is a man amongst us. There is a man amongst us that's a sinner. There is a man amongst us that's a bully. And King David goes, well, tell me, what is it? Who is it? What's going on? He goes, there is a man that has a sheep. There is one poor man that has one single sheep. And this man loved this sheep so much that he would sleep with this sheep, he would share his water with this sheep, he would eat with this sheep, and he'd do everything with this sheep. And this rich man one day had some visitors coming, some travelers coming to see him. And this rich man had so many sheep he could feed everybody in the town with how many sheep he had. But he sent his men to take the one poor man's sheep to feed his guests. So he did. They took his sheep, they slaughtered his sheep, and then he fed it to his men. And King David, can you imagine, Claudette? King David, can you see this? Can you hear him? Can you hear how angry he must have been at that time? King David got so angry, and he said, bring him to me, this man shall pay. And Nathan in his wisdom, the prophet in his wisdom, looked at him and he said, King David, that is you with Uriah and Bathsheba. And in that moment, right there, in that moment in time, King David fell on his knees and he looked up to God and he said, God, I am sorry. I have sinned against you. And as he was kneeling as he was kneeling there, he heard this music coming from the walls outside his castle. And he heard this music because he realized at this point, he realized that he wasn't perfect. And that what he sees in others is the same thing he has in himself. And he heard this music, that's right. He finally realized that he too makes mistakes. That's right. And he heard this song, this sweet melody coming through his doors and his windows. Listen up, listen up.